Today we're looking at the Canon Rebel T5 or Canon 1200D as it's known in some parts of the world. This is currently Canon's least expensive DSLR and one of the least expensive DSLRs currently on the market. Canon has aimed this camera squarely at people looking to improve the quality of the photos they take and are looking to get into the world of DSLRs. So let's take a closer look. Right out the door, the camera bears a striking resemblance to a lot of Canon DSLRs on the market, especially the now discontinued Canon T2i. It has a standard 18 to 55mm EFS kit lens which covers its 18 megapixel APS-C sensor. To the right of that is the mono microphone. It also has a focus assist lamp and shutter button on the front. The top face has a built-in speaker, pop-up flash and hot shoe mount. To the right of this is Canon's standard mode dial with on-off button. There's an adjuster dial right next to the shutter button and the flash button is behind it. You also have a standard Canon strap mount on either side. The rear face is classic Canon. All the buttons, the screen and the optical viewfinder are exactly where you'd expect them to be. The screen, however, takes a severe downgrade. Unlike more recent Canon DSLRs which have sported a crisp 1 million dot display, Canon has chosen to saddle the T5 with a 0.4 million dot display. The display is usable, but it's frankly a huge step down from what you'd usually find on a Canon DSLR. It just seems like a relic from the past that Canon used to cut costs. It's rather disappointing that Canon chose the screen of all places to cut costs. For most people, the screen is going to be their primary viewfinder, and putting in a poor quality screen just takes away from the customer experience. The screen doesn't articulate or flip either, but this is to be expected at this price point. And unlike other Canon DSLRs, the T5 doesn't have a mic input jack on the side, so you can't connect an external mic to it. But it does have a remote port, mini USB port, and mini HDMI port, in case you'd like to connect the camera to a field monitor or TV. Now another thing that both annoys and confuses me is the location of the SD card slot. Canon DSLRs for several years now have always had a dedicated SD card slot on the right hand side. This was extremely useful as you could quickly pop the card out even if the camera was mounted to a tripod. With the T5 though, Canon has chosen to make the user's life a little harder by burying the SD card slot in the battery compartment. This is really annoying and I have no idea why Canon would try to fix something that really wasn't broken in the first place. The battery is a LPE10 battery which was specifically made for this camera and its older sibling, the T3. I have no idea why they use this battery. One would think it would be cheaper to use an existing battery like the LPE8 or E12 instead of developing a completely new battery for this camera. Spare batteries are readily available, but it's just an odd choice of battery. It also has a 1/4-20 tripod mount on the bottom in case you need to mount it to a tripod or any other mounting device. The grip on the camera is identical to its Canon Rebel siblings and the camera is very comfortable to hold and use. The menus are familiar and easy to navigate, but again, it's a relic that's been carried over from Canon cameras from the past. As expected, the photo quality is really good. Typical Canon photos with extremely good color reproduction, consistent exposures and sharp images. And since it has a large APS-C size sensor, the low light performance is also pretty good. However, the problem isn't so much getting good picture quality. The problem is what it takes to get that picture quality. The focus speed is downright pathetic. The camera really struggles to lock focus and it constantly hunts sluggishly to find the right thing to focus on. The autofocus is again a relic from Canon's past and just cannot compete with the current crop of cameras from Nikon, Panasonic and Sony. Professionals who are willing to use the manual focus ring can certainly get good photos, but this isn't meant to be a pro camera. Beginners who will most likely use the autofocus will find the autofocus sluggish and plain sloppy. The exact same thing can be said about video. It can capture 1080p video at both 24 and 30 frames per second, and if you're patient and careful, the video is really nice, as you can see here. But this is certainly not going to replace your camcorder. Locking focus will be a serious challenge, especially for faster moving subjects. So should you buy this camera? Absolutely not. Now, when I usually review products, I find that most products are at least a good fit for some people. With the T5, I really don't think anyone should get this camera. camera. This camera would have been a great camera 5 years ago, but considering the current lineup of cameras from Nikon, Panasonic and Sony, the T5 just doesn't stack up. It's just a much older Canon DSLR that Canon has dressed up to look like a modern camera. Now, one of the questions I'm bound to get is, how about the new Canon Rebel T6? Should I get that? And the answer again is no. Canon hasn't fixed any of these problems that we mentioned in this review in their newer model, the T6, and very little has changed. So neither the T5 or T6 are really very good value for money. So what do you buy instead? Well, if you just wanted better quality photos than what your smartphone takes, I'd recommend the Olympus Pen EPL6. That camera takes great photos and is amazing value for money. However, if you absolutely want the experience of owning and buying a DSLR, get the Nikon D3300. It's one of the best entry-level DSLRs out there, and I'll leave links to both those cameras below. Now, if you own the T5, tell us about your experience with the camera in the comments below. Hope this review was useful. If it was, please hit that like button and subscribe for more reviews. Thanks for watching and see you next time.